What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, the year is just flying by, and right now we're less than a month away from Black Friday, and in fact, some sales are starting to leak out a bit early, and one in particular we have at least shows one of the newer systems going on sale. So we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Sarah Bond once again in an interview, discussing the future for Microsoft and their take on exclusive games and how it fits into the industry, at least from their perspective. And we'll also be talking about some of the sales results for the month of August, September, and into October a bit. It's actually a wide range, but it gives us a look at how things went for the Switch 2 and Sony with Ghost of Yotei. All that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. If you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Ubisoft and that Splinter Cell remake that got announced more than 4 years ago. And we haven't really heard much about it, and we're starting to see some things pop up that are unfortunate, because I would really like to see this be good, but when I see job listings pop up for, I don't know, a new director, certainly brings that status into question. You can see this. This is over on Insider Gaming, who's citing Tech4Gamers, saying a job listing that's been taken down now was available on Ubisoft's website. The position, game director, was for the Ubisoft Toronto office and would be for the Splinter Cell remake. The description for the job states that the person would be part of the Splinter Cell development team, leading workers and coming up with new features. Wow. When they announced it in 2021, it did sound like, oh, we're going to announce this so we can get people interested and try to hire people to make the game. But even then you're like, oh, okay, maybe 4 or 5 years. Then we'll see the thing, or it'll come out. I mean, it sounds like they still have a ways to go with this. Again, sounds crazy, but think about where the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake is. That's basically had to get rebooted just about. And it's been a whole thing. 2 games that I'm really excited about from Ubisoft seem to be having the most issues. So here's hoping the third one, being Black Flag remake, is smooth sailing, and we see that maybe to start next year. But Splinter Cell, it's gonna be a while. Also, we did get the release date for Marvel Cosmic Invasion. This we can see over on Gematsu, where they say it'll launch for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Switch 2, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC through Steam on December 1st. Okay, so about a month and a half from now, not bad. And they also went over the whole list of different characters that you can play as, including Phoenix and Invincible Iron Man being announced here, alongside of several others, again, Captain America, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Storm, Venom, She-Hulk, Rocket Raccoon, and more. So the game itself, I think it looks awesome. Certainly a callback to the old school arcade beat-em-up days, and I'm thinking of that X-Men arcade machine, I'm sure as many of you are right now, like immediately. And I'll be picking this one up when it comes out to start off December, just ahead of Metroid Prime 4. So the last week that we see most games come out being right in December, that first week, already starting to get some releases in there. So exciting stuff. Should be a lot of fun when we get into the final month of the year, which once again, the year's going by quick. Not that far off right now. Oh, and here's a fun piece of data to compare the PS5 sales in the US to, I don't know, the PlayStation 3. This we can see from Matt Piscatella over on a social media account. Saying September 2025 US video game data. Fun fact, the PS5 has now surpassed the PlayStation 3 in lifetime installed base. And we already know that the PS5 will get an update from Sony here, I think in the next few weeks, about where the PS5 is like lifetime worldwide global sales, and it was already coming up to the PS3 outright, and that didn't get to 90 million, and it seems like the PS5 will be getting there, I mean, after this holiday season, I would assume. So it seems like the PS5 is setting up, yes, to be another 100 million unit seller for Sony. That's been basically a constant other than the PS3, and that's what the PS5 is about to pass, I'd say, globally, and has done so now in the US. So it's what Sony typically does. They put systems out and they sell really, really well. Again, other than, I guess, technically the PS3 and the PS5, well on its way. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Black Friday. As I mentioned, it's less than a month away now, as we do have a date for that and when some of these sales will be starting, and then that'll be followed up by Cyber Monday. But as we've seen in years past, Black Friday starts super early now. It's basically once November starts, Halloween ends, and it's almost like November 1st or 2nd, oh, sales start happening online. And they do like weeks and weeks on the run up to Black Friday and then Cyber Monday, and then they do it again. And it's just a constant wave of sales and stuff being thrown at you. But we still look towards that specific weekend towards the end of November where all these sales are supposed to be happening and be promoted. And it does appear that we're starting to see some video game sales get out there early. This one for Sony with the PlayStation 5. And I know it's a whole thing because Sony just raised prices. And here we are now with a sale that kind of lowers it to basically where we were when the whole generation started, just about. Anyway, we can see this. This is over on D-Labs. Again, they have a lot of information on the back end of retail stores and listings and stock and stuff like that. So this should line up with what we will be expecting in November. They say this year, the Black Friday 2025 period is expected to begin on November 21st at PlayStation. And indeed, Sony seems to be preparing several promotions for this event around the PlayStation 5 consoles. Remember, we'll see Sony do this for different games, and retailers will also participate on their own at times. So, for example, they might sell a controller and a system and then a gift card, right? They'll throw stuff in with it. So this is something I'm going to keep an eye on because I know, if we can see some really good deals pop up, definitely want to take advantage of them over the course, again, of the next 2 months, really is how it feels with this whole thing now. But over on D-Labs, they do have at least what sale we can expect for the PlayStation 5. It's a bundle, kind of. It's the Fortnite bundle. Now this is the Fortnite Flowering Chaos bundle for the PlayStation 5, and this will include the Slim model, standard edition with the disk drive, and they even have the CFI 2100 chassis information, 1 terabyte of storage, so it's not that weird. Oh, we're gonna go backwards for storage. No, still 1 terabyte. And it will come with 8 exclusive cosmetic items for Fortnite. They slap a 5,000 V-Bucks value on it, all right, and 1,000 additional V-Bucks. It's going to be $100 off. So instead of $550, remember it went up $50. It's going to be $450. So there you go. There you go. Look, it's a $100 discount. I know we're at this weird stage of the prices went up. So even when they do a discount, it still feels more expensive than it should be. That's just kind of the world we're in now. If you think about it this way, Sony's comparable would be that Xbox Series X that's $650. So they bumped this down $100 to $450. Technically, it's $200 cheaper then. And it's comparable. So, it's also right there next to the Switch 2 at $450. Things are just expensive. That's just kind of the way it is right now. But at least there is some participation in Black Friday because, there were a few years there, especially early on in the generation where no one participated and there was no sales. Even retailers were like, I don't know, that gift card, we're gonna hold on to that this year. So I'm actually expecting some decent sales this year for Black Friday. So again, I'll keep an eye out to see if we have anything really cool happening with some discounts or even some really good bundles to take advantage of as we head towards the holiday season. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft Xbox with their next generation and Sarah Bond, as she has gone through a round of interviews, this once again with Mashable. And I wanted to point this out because this brought up a lot of conversation online around exclusivity for titles and where it really sits now with the gaming industry. So this was from Sarah Bond when asked actually about that and Microsoft's take on the whole thing. She says, we're really seeing people evolve way past that. The biggest games in the world are available everywhere. You look at Call of Duty, you look at Minecraft, you look at Fortnite, you look at Roblox. That's actually what's really driving community in gaming. That's where people gather. They have experiences, and the idea of locking it to one store or one device is antiquated for most people. You want to be able to play with your friends anywhere regardless of what they're on, and we're really leaning into that with this experience because it just opens up another way for you to play, as does cloud, as does PC, as does the consoles that we all own and have in our living room. And this shouldn't be surprising for anyone to hear with the way that Microsoft's been moving, not only into next generation, but just the entirety of this generation, moving games to PlayStation, moving games to the Switch, really looking into this whole play anywhere situation where they have an Xbox logo on this ROG Ally handheld PC that when you use it, still just basically feels like a Windows overlay for the most part. They got to get to next generation apparently to make all this work with back catalog, even as emulation is currently being pitched and rumored as how they're going to figure that out. But for now, Microsoft just doesn't see as much value in exclusives, which is funny because we talked about Forza Horizon 6, which sounds awesome because it's going to be in Japan, But that's going to be on Xbox to start, and it'll go to PlayStation later. So they still play around with the timed exclusive stuff because I think even they realize, yeah, it brings people to your platform. It's how Nintendo has managed to sell systems that they make money on because it's usually older hardware being presented in a different light, like the hybrid model with the Switch, and there's an X1 that's been around on the market for years, and then Nvidia drops it in the Switch. They put a bunch of exclusive titles with it. They're really fun, and they sell more than 150 million of them. Exclusives do sell systems. It's worked since the beginning of this entire industry, but that's not really something that's working for Microsoft, and as we've heard Satya Nadella himself say, he doesn't really get it. He doesn't understand. It's like, what? We just put these games everywhere, make a bunch of money, and that's just kind of the way that Microsoft views this entire thing. Whereas Nintendo, on the opposite end of the spectrum completely, and views it more as IP growth for their different franchises to then put them outside of games, as we're seeing with things like these movies, theme parks, merchandise, and so on. Sony's caught somewhere in the middle because they are moving games to PC, but then they're also keeping things on their console and then doing the timed exclusive thing, and they're moving stuff to film. So they're also kind of trying to figure this thing out without going full onto the side with Microsoft, but also not technically on the side with Nintendo. So it's definitely a mess in terms of where exclusivity lies. But for me, I'm older, so I remember the more traditional style, and the exclusives to me still make sense if you're trying to sell hardware specifically, especially like you see Nintendo. Next up, let's talk about the Circana sales results for the month of September, a little bit in August, I think like one day in August, and then a couple of days into October. Again, it was a pretty wide net for tracking in the US, but we can see this. This is over on Matt Piscatella's account. You can see where he goes over all the different market stats that we got in. US video game market September spending trend. September 2025 projected US total spending on video game hardware, content, accessories grew 10% versus a year ago to $4.8 billion. Several new releases, Switch 2 hardware, and non-mobile subscriptions fueled the gain. So this would be August 31st to October 4th. And in that time period, we can see these are the top 20 games, and, we'll go through we'll say the top 15. And I did notice, what do we have? 9 of the top 15 are all new releases for the month. So that's good stuff there. But at the top, Borderlands 4 took the top right there, number one. And then, we have NBA 2K26, so Take-Two Interactive had the top 2 spots for September in the Circana sales chart. Then we have EA Sports FC26, Ghost of Yotei, which we'll come back to that in a minute. That's actually pretty surprising. Madden NFL 26, Helldivers 2, Silent Hill F, Sonic Racing Crossroads, hey, Final Fantasy Tactics, The Evil East Chronicles. Awesome to see that in the top 10. Good stuff. Square Enix, I'm just telling you, hey, there's a place for Final Fantasy Tactics. I think people want it. I think they would buy it. A brand new one, I'm saying. Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater. We have EA Sports College Football 26, NHL 26, Digimon Story Time Stranger, Super Mario Galaxy, and Super Mario Galaxy 2. The little star means that we don't have digital sales data for Circana to run on, so this will just be all physical sales. And then Minecraft to close out the top 15. Now, Ghost of Yotei in particular, I pointed out as being kind of impressive because it came out October 2nd. This would be 2 days of tracking for the game, and it's at number 4, just outright, versus, you can see all the games below it that would have tracked for much, much longer, weeks longer, right? So for Yotei to do that in 2 days, and then also it's number 18 year to date after 2 days of tracking, is very impressive. Now, we'll see how it continues along, especially throughout the holiday season, or really just the next Circana report, because that will track just about a full month then, obviously, of it being on the market, minus the first 2 days. And I know the first 2 days would be, like the big sales for it, but that would have been a Thursday and a Friday. So you didn't even get the whole weekend there. And that's how well it did. And again, Sucker Punch, they've already told us that the budget for it wasn't super high. It was about Tsushima. I'm just going to say it was less than $100 million. So it seems like this sequel is working out very well for them right away on release. As for hardware, the Switch 2 was the best-selling video game hardware in both units and dollars across September and the 2025 year-to-date period, with PlayStation 5 ranking second across these measures and time periods. Again, not very surprising there, and I would expect in October for the Switch 2 to also do really, really well, mostly because it's bundled with Pokemon Legends ZA, and it also just has ZA outright to be pushing for those $450 consoles if you can't find the bundle out there. So you have big software like that to release, even though a lot of people really annoyed at Pokemon right now. It's Pokemon. It sells very well to the mainstream, and also when it's in the holiday period, it's just a gift that people buy a lot. So that's going to continue, I think, momentum for the Switch 2, especially throughout November, and then we'll see how things go in December with, I'm really curious about Metroid Prime 4. I know I've mentioned it, how it's just going to turn out, but also how it's going to sell, because it does seem like the stage is set for just a really, really good release and sales period for that game, but I also haven't seen Nintendo do a lot of pushing for it, so maybe we'll get a direct and we'll see when we get closer to that release. As for now, though, it seems like Ghost of Yote did very, very well. Borderlands 4 taking the top spot, and the Switch 2 continues to roll along in 2025. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a kind of a strange update that Nintendo announced. And I say strange because it's not necessarily the update you'd expect for Pikmin 4. You would think, oh, hey, there's an update in November. Must be something for the Switch 2 to upgrade resolution or frame rate. Doesn't seem to be. Appears to just be a free content update with some new modes. So we can see this over on the website. And they have it kind of bullet pointed here. So we have Decor Pikmin. Now they say these curious Pikmin are marching their way to Pikmin 4. They are Pikmin that don some form of decoration found in the world. They have a field camera, so you can take all kinds of photos for your character. I guess just like a photo mode there. And then new creature activity levels where you can move at your own pace and enjoy the new relaxed mode where creatures won't attack unless you attack them, or kick things up a notch in the fiery fierce mode. So you just have some different difficulty settings there, maybe one for like younger gamers, and then another for people who are a bit more experienced in the game. Now this is coming out in November. There's also gonna be an updated demo that will release alongside of it, and there's just been a lot of Pikmin stuff that's been happening. Pikmin Bloom also got an update, and we had already talked about that Close to You video that Nintendo released. And then they came back and they put the Pikmin into play here with it so you could see them. So it's interesting. A lot of Pikmin stuff happening right now, but it's not, I haven't seen like a new game for it, just this update, I'm trying to figure out what they're building up to. So I guess this and maybe just a little bit of a push for the holiday season. They just want to sell more Pikmin games. Hard to say, but I mean, it's a free update. So that's good for Pikmin 4 fans. Check this one out in November, and we'll see if Nintendo has anything else up their sleeve, apparently, for the Pikmin franchise. And apparently they'll just announce it whenever. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, have you played the first Splinter Cell game? 57% say no, 43% say yes. I'm telling you, it was impressive stuff when it came out. Now, when it came out back in 2002, it was only on the original Xbox. It was in 2003, it moved to the other platforms. I remember one of my friends, I was over at their house, they rented, it was like over the course of a weekend, they rented Splinter Cell on the PS2. So it wasn't even the original Xbox version that would have ran the game better and I guess looked better and stuff there. But even on the PS2, it was insane. So we're coming from the PS1 generation, the N64. Lighting wasn't as big of a thing. Splinter Cell, though, when it broke onto the scene, took it to the next level, where you were shooting out like lights and stuff, and you were hiding in shadows. Sounds basic now. Mind-blowing back then. The visuals are crazy. I mean, kind of the spy espionage, sneaking around stealth aspect. It's really, really good stuff. So I'd really like to see this franchise really make a cool comeback. So when I see the director, they gotta hire a new one, it's like, oh, come on, Ubisoft. You gotta get this one right. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Nest, who says, Sakurai just loves to gush about his new game. He could probably talk for 5 hours about a single screenshot, and I'd be tempted to listen nonstop. And look, here's the thing. Sakurai is a very good presenter, as I mentioned, and part of that, I think, is also people just believe that he likes gaming. So it doesn't seem like you're listening to like kind of a corporate stand-in. You know, when you have the big stage events we used to have back in the day at E3 and they had the suit on and Don Matrix telling you about how awesome Metal Gear is, and you're like, are you sure, Don Matrix? But when Sakurai posts all kinds of stuff on his social media feed where he has a million controllers and he shows you his setup and that he has 2 TVs and he's playing all these games, you believe him. You're like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. He's really into gaming and it feels more authentic than like when Strauss Zelnick did his interview. I laughed because it was legitimately funny, where he did his interview about GTA 6. It was too long ago, where it got delayed. He's talking on, I think it was like MSNBC Money or something about the markets, because GTA 6 is big enough to move the stock market. And they asked him, "Oh, do you play a lot of games?" And he's just like, "What am I? Am I a nerd?" It was basically that. It's like, oh no, it sounds about right. I do get that vibe from Strauss Zelnick, but Sakurai, when he's talking, you legitimately believe he sat down and played a game for 12 hours, got up off the couch, then walked over to the camera to start telling you about Kirby Air Riders. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to check out how you can make a cheap emulation box from basic old Office PCs. I did that in a video as well, and I'll leave it right below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.